What about that campground where 160 people were, which got completely washed away? They don't know where those people are. You see these piles of trees and mangled refrigerators. Like, how do you find a body in that, you know?
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Warriors Mindset Podcast, where the sayings, riddles, and many blunders
There's one right there.
of the wise are brought to you straight from J. Pav and Patrick Pav. What is going on?
What's up, man?
Hey, how's life, man?
Oh, life's pretty great.
Is it?
Yeah.
How's your work life been this week?
Oh, pretty good.
Any good challenges?
Oh, yeah, always.
Oh, yeah? Well, why don't you think about one of those? You know, we are Warriors Management. We own and operate 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 locations, companies. We're in multiple locations all the time, especially Friday and Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
And we originally decided to do this podcast as a training session for you, for those 150 beautiful, mostly, people that work within our companies. And I would say this, if you are in our companies and listening right now, you have the best chance of getting a raise and a bonus next year. Why?
Because you're learning.
Because you're understanding our thinking, me as the CEO of Warriors Management and you as the Chief Operating Officer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's kind of funny is that we got these titles, I felt like at like Sunday or Saturday morning tea watching Scooby-Doo. Because I was
like Scooby-Doo.
I was sitting with one of my mentors. It was actually before you, mentors and investors, with two of my partners at the time that have jumped off the plank. But he goes, you do the money, you're the CFO, you're in operations, you're the chief operating officer, and you're the CEO. And I was like, wow, what's that mean?
That's a nice title.
That's a nice title. And through the years, we've been able to morph more. I mean, our job, I mean, at any moment, you act as the CEO and me act as the chief operating officer, and I'm probably more controlling than you. But what I see is that our company at this spot, it's a blended title.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people when they ask what I do, I say I do whatever needs to be done. I
Yeah.
mean, that's really what it is. It doesn't matter. And we all have our roles to
Yeah.
roles
And what
to
do you
fill.
think about the title? You like the title?
Oh, I don't. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's cool.
There's a
It sounds
time
nice.
to use it, and there's a time to not.
Yeah, I only use it when I have to pull rank on someone.
Yeah, so tell me about where you were, one challenge you had this week, you know, small story, and how you overcame it.
Challenge I had or a challenge I had to deal with?
Well, yeah, you had to deal with.
Well,
It's the same usually.
Yeah.
It's always, if
I don't
something's wrong,
generally-
I always consider
I don't
it
generally-
our fault.
Yeah, I don't generally create the challenges, although if something happens, then it falls on the leaders, right?
Yeah.
Well, I had one of our leaders come to me recently in the last week and tell me about a situation they had with one of their subordinates
Yeah.
who had was having a tough day. We'll put it lightly because we have people listening. And they had a tough day, and they had to make the decision to send this person home from work.
Okay.
And the people who were there thought that would be a better decision than having this person who's having a bad day.
People have bad days.
You know, people have bad days, and they thought it'd be better to run shorthanded than to deal with this person
always
having
is.
a bad day.
Always is.
Highly recommend. And so they came to me with some advice, looking for advice, and I told them what I suggest that we should do with this person, and I think they're going to heed that advice.
This has been an area in our company where I would handle probably about 90% of the time.
Yep.
For the last 10 years since you've been with us, right?
Yep.
Longer, right? How long?
How long have I been
15?
working
12.
in the
You're
system?
27.
Yeah, 14 and a half years.
15.
Yeah.
Always round up when it's something good.
Like officially working
Yeah.
more than 10 hours a week.
Yeah, but this is a area where I would always get involved, and it's hard for me not to get involved.
I've traditionally been the good cop, and
Yeah.
you've been the bad cop, but I kind of like that now sometimes I'm the bad cop.
Yeah. Well, this podcast today, and we're forming our 3 different styles, would be our leadership podcast. We hope that you can get some sort of gold nugget on your life, and whether it's your life or you as an entrepreneur or as a leader or manager. So what in this particular situation, what gave you so much patience, because it's stupid?
Oh, actually, my patience has run out with this particular situation.
Yeah.
So I've been patient for a while, and now my patience has run out, but I'm a calm person, so I just
Well, I'd like to reverse the roles, as we have in a lot of areas, but we got to layer it. I am now the good cop, and you are now the bad cop.
It's fine with me. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. Well, I'm super excited because to be sitting in this chair with my man, Mr. Mitch Lilly.
How's it going, everyone?
Back from, I call it an Indiana Jones episode.
Indeed it was.
Yeah, and you've been living like it's kind of a movie, like an adventure, because, in every adventure or superheroes movie, there's always a love story.
Absolutely.
And, this is kind of odd compared to the rest of the world. Okay?
I agree.
But it would be about 2 weeks ago now. You came up to me and said, me and Victoria are going to get married on Friday.
Yeah. That was what? That was... We said that it wasn't last week. It was the week
exactly
before.
It was
exactly 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
time just kind of like fuses together.
So I just want to thank you and tell you how much I appreciate you for manning up. And I don't think it's unusual. I didn't find it unusual for like a man to do this type of thing. Like, hey, let's get married. But a woman, it just seems like they're a lot smarter than men. And so I have the lovely Mrs. Victoria Lilly here.
Hello.
Anyway, so you guys got engaged like, a couple months ago, call it. And then all of a sudden you're walking in my office and be like, hey, Jay, we're getting married.
This is true. Yeah, I honestly knew from the first day that I met Mitch that I wanted to marry him. So it's a little quick
Love at first sight
compared to other people's timelines, but it felt just right for us.
Yeah, so we started dating on March 1st, correct?
That was when we were official.
Yeah.
And we were engaged. Remind me again when that was.
September 1st.
September 1st, okay.
Yeah.
And then married November 1st.
And so you whose idea was it to get married so quickly?
I mean,
who said, fuck it, let's get married on Friday? How did this work? How did this happen? I haven't asked you. I was just kind of like, and we're going to talk more about your honeymoon here. I was like, okay. I mean, I'm like, okay, I was like an innocent bystander through this.
I mean, I think it was God's idea in all reality. So first, I think we both were spoken to by God, and he put it on our hearts to get married before this trip we went on to North Carolina.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. And
the reason being for us was we wanted to make this trip our honeymoon, and we knew that this was going to be a heavy trip, emotionally, physically, all the above. So we wanted to make sure that we had God on our side as much as possible to support us spiritually throughout this trip.
How'd you know it was God?
You just know, man. It's like when you find the right woman.
Yeah, so love
You
at
just
first
know.
sight, huh? And so what is happening with my partners, their wives are essentially partnered with, their husband, who's my partner. And so it's important, I guess, for me to, to get to know these ladies a little bit, right? And I've been able to get to know you a lot because you jumped right in and to figure out where you could add value to Mitch's life, which essentially is trickling down to me and Patrick and our whole company. So it's cool. It was a little scary in the beginning, but I'm good with it. But I want you guys, like, you're taking a year off school, right, Victoria?
Yes. Yeah, I'll start again September 1st.
Yeah, and where are you going when you start, and what are you going for?
Yeah, so I'll be starting my second year of medical school. I had to take a year off because of surgery. But next year, I'll be working 65 hours a week between the hospital and the clinic, and then studying outside of that. So next year will be very different.
So I think this be very important that those of you who are in our company understand this. Like, we just acquired a woman that's studying to be a doctor within our organization who's excited about our organization. And so that's just adding more people with a lot of knowledge and wisdom, right?
Absolutely.
And so, Victoria, you have had a passion. I mean, within our company, for like our nonprofit, we've talked a lot about that because you have a big old heart trying to give it away, right? And so what happened is that you guys got married. I want you guys to tell the story. And one of the reasons you said, fuck it, we're going to do it, it is that you guys had a honeymoon planned, right? Where'd you go?
We went to North Carolina. There was a huge storm down there, if anyone's not aware, Hurricane Helene, that really devastated it. And, we see a lot of these horrors on the news. And a lot of times you just, acknowledge it, move on with your life and forget about it. But we just felt really compelled to be a part of helping the people devastated by the storm.
What was the name of the storm again?
Helene,
right? And when did that happen?
I believe it was September 17th, I want to say.
Yes, that sounds about right.
So you guys got married on Friday and left on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so
busy week.
So Mitch, can you tell me a little bit about the workings within you that led you to get married and felt like this was the best thing to do before you went on the trip, and then just lead us into, the trip?
It was September 27th, by the way. I was off.
27th, okay.
That's when you left. No,
No,
that's when
that's
the
when
hurricane
it-
was.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
you guys ended up there when?
November something.
November 3rd.
November
3rd.
3rd,
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So the storm hit 3 days before my birthday. Wild. But yeah, so a lot of people, when they found out that we were getting married and that we were planning this wedding, and we decided Tuesday night we applied for the marriage license, and we said we're getting married on Friday. They were like, "Why are you rushing this?" Like a lot of people's first instinct was, "Oh, is she pregnant?" Blah blah blah. It's like, no, like,
are you?
It's a shotgun
No.
wedding.
yeah, it's like,
Not
no,
pregnant.
we just love each other, and we feel that God has it on our hearts to get married now. Like, why wait?
How much did it cost you?
I mean,
How much did it cost you for your wedding and your after dinner?
the wedding and the after dinner.
How much did it cost you total?
Oh, I don't think we've added
Not-
it up, but
not
definitely,
much.
including all of the rings, definitely under 5,000.
No, like that's including the rings.
Yeah.
The rings were 1,000
Each?
No.
Or 500 each?
total. Okay,
No,
so
like 1,600 total.
so I have 1,600 total. What do you mean? No,
This one was 800.
that's an engagement ring.
Yeah, a ring.
Okay.
And then these ones.
Yeah,
were
what it
900.
cost you out of your pocket, man, to get married?
Out of my pocket to get married, and this is very cheap. Maybe $2,000.
Dude.
That's pretty cheap.
That's crazy.
To all
wedding
my
cost so
friends
much.
and family out there, elope.
Yeah, seriously.
And
it was a pretty beautiful wedding.
This was we intended just to elope. And those are our ring, or that's a photo of the wedding.
Here's the rings.
There's the rings right there. And one of the reasons why the rings were so cheap is I'm actually wearing my grandfather's ring.
Ooh,
And
I love that.
I have
Pass it down.
I have a cool story that goes along with that, and I believe it was the day of our wedding. We were running around like crazy, just trying to get everything ready, and we weren't necessarily stressed out, I guess, but we had a lot on our plates. We were trying to get some of the finishing touches and whatnot, and we're still fundraising for this mission trip and doing all of this stuff. Planning this that huge event we had at the Rumpus Room / Grateful Crow. So we drove into Chelsea and we went to La Jolla Jewelers, and we have a sushi roll on our menu called the La Jolla Roll. So I told them, hey, I work for Warriors Management. We own the Grateful Crow and Jets Pizza right over here. And the gentleman, what was his? Do you remember his name?
Steve.
No. Anyway, that's aside the point. I'm having a brain fart right now, but I was like, we're looking for a wedding band for her. And I said, I do have a wedding band for my grandfather in my car for me. I want to get it resized, but I said, I understand that it's like, you won't be able to do it today. Like, there's no, it's very short notice. And he goes, go get it. He goes, we need to get this done for you. You need to wear your grandfather's wedding band on your wedding day. You need it. So I went and grabbed it, and he's like, okay, I have the gold already. Give me 45 minutes. So I give him his wedding band. We pick out hers, drop her engagement ring off so they can polish it and clean it up. And I went down to the office and chatted with you guys for, the 45 minutes or an hour.
Yeah.
And they gave me a call. I went back. They had this ring sized for me already within the hour. And I was able to wear my grandfather's wedding.
So this was at La Jolla's?
At La Jolla's, yeah.
Yeah.
So Curtis, yes.
Curtis hooked it up.
He did.
Good job,
and
Curtis.
let me tell you, that's customer service.
Yeah.
And just to, I guess, tie in a little bit of this trip to that, it's what's the book she gave me? It's Unreasonable Hospitality. And I forget the author, but he owns a 3 Michelin star restaurant in New York. And in my eyes, that right there, what Curtis did is unreasonable hospitality. Because a lot of people...
Guidara? That's the name of the author.
Okay.
I think Will Guidara.
Yes, that sounds correct.
Unreasonable hospitality.
Unreasonable hospitality.
Yeah, I like that.
And
We need to preach it, baby.
absolutely. And
Preach
I got given this book by a family friend who we stayed with in North Carolina, and I have yet to read it, but it's at the top of my list now.
Let's see if we can get this guy on the podcast.
That would be awesome.
That'd be good. So you had a lot of conflict with people, like, why do it? Right.
I mean, not necessarily conflict, but definitely them questioning us, like, why are you pushing this so hard?
Yeah.
Why not wait until after
Yeah.
the trip? Why not, you're putting a lot on your plate. This is a lot of stress. And it's like,
Dude,
if you just follow your heart and follow what God puts on your heart, he relieves all that stress, and it'll be figured out for you. And it's not that you don't have to put work into it and do the works, but he definitely relieves a lot of the stress. And if you do just have faith that it'll all work out, he'll actually provide more than what you ever thought was possible.
yeah. Well, here, get a picture of the wedding where they got married at. There was, it was the most beautiful weddings. It was probably the most beautiful wedding I ever went to, because it's like funeral homes, churches, they're like smell of
Or golf courses, or
all that bullshit. This was in the middle of a field in Grass Lake, Michigan, and it was great. And there was about 15 of us here, and it was the first time your grandfather, who is your father, and your parents ever met.
Yes.
I saw it.
Yep.
I think I might have got it on video. Did you see in the video I sent you, I had them asking to give you some advice? The end of the second one.
I didn't see that.
No, I
can't
should
wait to
drop
watch
it. I'll drop
Yeah.
it. Let me make sure I drop it to you off my phone.
be
But,
amazing.
Absolutely.
but like I saw them and I was like, is this the first time you fucking guys have met? And they were like, yeah. I was like, get the fuck out of here. I was like, well, I was like, I said something like to your grandpa. I was like, well, I don't know you, but I know I like you. And I go, these people are great. And then I think they hit it off.
Absolutely. They definitely hit it off.
Yeah, so that was super cool, and we're praying for you guys, and wish the best. I think that you guys are off to a good start, and you saved a lot of money, and
Yes.
that was the best wedding. And then you went to the Grateful Crow. I would say your wedding was sponsored by the Grateful Crow.
It definitely was. And let me tell you, the staff at the Grateful Crow, especially Kyle Bragg, huge shout out to her. She made that night so special.
Yeah,
Like
Carly too.
unbelievably
Carly,
special.
I went to her and Hannah.
Yep.
And I said, hey, listen, we're doing this. And I was going to surprise you guys, but I was like, if I don't tell them now, it'll be stressful for them. So it was amazing how much you guys did not have figured out. I was like, I pulled up, you got out of the car, and I was like, are you just getting here? And you're like, I was like, oh shit, this is a bride that just decided to get married 3 days ago, and she's walking up and I'm the first person to see her. I was like, damn. I go, all right, let me go see what's going on over there. But then it just, dude, you guys weren't stressing out about it.
No.
Really. It was so cool. Even afterwards, we were like, who's going to sign the work? Who's going to sign this? Who's going to, the marriage license? Who's going to sign it? And everybody was like, I don't know. And like, I've seen weddings stress people. And I'm going to tell you what, the wedding is important, but reality is the marriage, right?
Yeah. And, I think that's another reason why we wanted to make this trip our honeymoon. Is because most people start out their marriage in this blissful dreamland called the honeymoon, right? And it's kind of supposed to be like that. It's intended to be like that.
It's the honeymoon
Right.
phase.
Right.
When you first get married and you're all like, yeah.
Kind of when
we're-
you first do anything.
Yeah,
Right.
we're like, oh, we get to live life together and everything's super great and we're all happy. And then it ends because the reality of life hits you like, oh, I got to go back to work.
Exactly.
You
Yeah,
know?
it's like a Caribbean vacation with couples massages and fancy meals and drinking and no
You're laying on the
responsibilities.
beach and this trip, we were quite literally flown into the harshest of realities. We are going to bring hope and the word of God to these families who have been devastated by Hurricane Helene. And we thought, what better way to start out a marriage that has God at the
You mean to do
forefront.
something really fucking hard?
yes. Yes.
What do you think, Pat? That would be pretty hard to start off on, right?
Yeah, I mean, but only get easier.
Yeah,
after that,
I'm
right?
sitting here thinking in regards, because this is our leadership podcast, is that literally you're a buffalo and you're a butterfly mostly. And if you were to look at like people skills books or Personality Plus, you guys would actually be cohesive,
Oh yeah.
compatible.
We definitely are.
But the thing is that you guys, you're kind of a buffafly and you're kind of a butter buff. Because you're not
And
you're not a
is,
pushover. You can't get squashed. You'll beat someone's ass.
this is all in reference
you
to
will-
Personality Plus, right?
This is all reference.
okay,
to
just for the
Personality
audience,
Plus,
because
yeah.
the people watching is like, what the hell
But
is this guy talking about?
you are sensitive and you'll cry.
Yes, absolutely.
And so
Real men cry.
watching the synergy is pretty fantastic. And I know you're talking about North Carolina, but I kept thinking about it. It's a good example. And, you have to be a little bit more of a butterfly, I think.
Indeed, I do.
Yeah.
We heard a great quote when we were down there, and it was that if the tears leak, it prevents the head from swelling. They said it more
If the
eloquently, but-
if the eyes leak, the head doesn't swell. Or the head won't swell.
Yeah. So North Carolina, let's hit this because
Yeah.
it's very special to me. Okay.
Yeah.
And I grew up, my grandmother was born in Stanley, North Carolina. My great-grandmother, great-grandfather, and beyond are buried in North Carolina. And so I love North Carolina, considered moving there many times in my life. And so you guys found in your heart to do this as your honeymoon.
Yes, sir.
And you went down there to do something hard. So let's go. Give us the story.
Well, I'd like to start off with, the night before we threw that event, and I didn't get home until 12:30. Didn't get to bed until about 1 o'clock. I think we got home at maybe 12, but we had to pack. We had to pack all of our stuff still.
Yeah, we did a monster event in the parking lot.
Yes, which was amazing. It worked out wonderfully.
Got you guys a few bucks to go.
Yes, it absolutely did. And we were able to help some families with that money. But, went to bed at 1, woke up at 4, cooked a little bit of venison backstrap before departing.
Something good.
Something good, something to fuel the body.
Yeah.
And, it's a 10-hour drive.
Don't forget about the First Form beef sticks, dude.
Oh,
My gosh, I lived off those things.
Shout out to First Form. I bought 45 beef sticks before we went.
I ate half of them, probably.
Yeah, we should say this. Elijah was with you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah.
And
so
it
that's
was,
why he's chiming in like this.
It was
guys.
pretty incredible. But yeah, 3 hours of sleep, 10-hour drive. I drove the first 8.5 hours. And for some reason, I'm the driver. I enjoy driving, and I just like being in control. And I feel the need to try to make it as easy on her as possible. And I didn't want her to have to drive. But one thing I realized, and I think this is, this is also like a good leadership thing as well, is you can't do everything on your own. And you've got to learn to let other people carry some of the load, or else you could quite literally crash and die. And, at hour 8.5, I was exhausted. She was taking a nap. I was listening to some sort of podcast, and probably Joe Rogan. And I was just like,
Yeah, you got to put on metal.
I was just phasing in and out.
Some seventh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phasing in and out. And I finally look over at Victoria and I go, babe, you've got to drive. I said, I can't stay awake any longer. And she was out cold. So she wakes up and is like, okay. So we swing by the gas station. She's doing jumping jacks in the gas station and gets a coffee and does some push-ups in the parking lot and is like, all right, I'm good to go. I get in the truck, grab the pillow, and pass out for the hour and a half. And she gets us safely to our destination. So
You were good?
Yeah,
Yes.
teamwork.
You were good to drive?
So
Yeah.
make
After
sure
the-
to
It's
shift
kinda nice, though,
responsibilities
isn't
to other people.
Yeah.
That way you can safely get to your destination, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good lesson. And so where exactly did you go in North Carolina?
Yeah, so we can just jump in and start talking about the first day. So first full day we were there on Monday. We went
Because you
to
got there and just
Swannanoa.
slept and made camp,
That
right?
night, yeah, we
made camp.
ate food, talked about the game plan for the week, and went right to
Okay.
sleep. It was exhausting.
Yep.
But starting on Monday morning, we went to Swannanoa, which is a super devastated area, and we were working with the guys here at PHOS Management Studios. Part of what our mission was going down there was to make a mini documentary. That way we can actually raise serious money to help these people. So recognizing that by raising money through a documentary, we could do more than what we were capable of doing with our own hands in a week. So we went to this family's house and started talking to the woman there, and she was very, very pregnant. Looked like she's about to pop.
9 months while we were talking to her. She was literally 9 months pregnant.
Yeah.
Any day she's definitely had the kid by now.
Yes. And, while they were interviewing her, I had the GoPro and I was doing some B-roll footage, taking some B-roll footage. And, I just kept on noticing this young girl she would go into this shed out back, and then she'd come out and walk around, and she just looked like she was very restless and needed someone to talk to or hang out with or
How
play
long
with.
was she in the shed when she'd go in?
Just a few minutes at a time, just kind of
It's like
meandering
running
around.
in and out.
Yeah. And they were interviewing her mother. So I finally she comes out of the shed and she's holding this like little Nerf football. And I went up to her and I said, "You want to play catch?"
Oh, you're talking about a little girl.
She's
9 years old.
9
yeah.
years old.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, her and I start playing catch with this Nerf ball, and I think I might have filmed a little bit of it, but we're just kind of, I'm trying to just have a good time, get her mind off of everything that's happening, and we start talking a little bit, and she tells me her name and starts talking to me about her friends, and then she starts telling me about this business she started. And the reason why she has that shed out back is somebody donated that shed for her like hair. It's like a beauty salon / little like craft shed, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, Cabins for Christ donated it.
yes, Cabins for Christ donated the shed. God bless them. They're amazing. But she's telling me about these bracelets that she's making. They're like keychain bracelets. And I said, "Oh, can you show me those bracelets?" She's like, "Yeah." Runs to her camper and grabs this pile of bracelets out, this handful of bracelets. And I said, How much for a bracelet?" And she said, "It's $1." I said, "Well, that's awesome." And she had one around her wrist, and I really liked that one. And she had another one that was identical to that. And I have it in my backpack still actually at home. I should have brought it in. But I said, "Well, I'd like to buy one off you. I want that one." And I said, "Tell you what, I'll give you $60 for that bracelet." So I handed her 320s. She hands me the bracelet. She's like, "Thank you so much."
I love that. Let me give you some advice. I do that shit. I do that all the time. If I see young entrepreneurs, buy it all,
Buy it all, okay.
except like 1 or 2 items, and then it forces them to go make more. It encourages them to make more.
Yeah.
Then they go buy more product, and then you as an entrepreneur, you're giving them like the capital.
This is a
Okay.
little blurry, but you can see the little
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
bracelet hanging off the back there.
Oh yeah.
From a photo.
So that's awesome. And so what's her story? Is she in school or what? Like
Yeah,
what's the story?
so basically, when the storm happened, luckily this little girl was actually spending the night with her grandma, who lived up the mountain. So luckily she wasn't home when the storm happened. But when the storm happened, the mom was actually alone by herself, and it started to flood. She climbs up to the second story, and it gets to the point where water is flooding into her windows. And she literally ended
the water
up being...
was that high.
It was
Second
that
story.
high, yeah. Second
How big
story
of a
windows.
house?
It was a 2-story house.
With the second,
Like a
with the
normal-
first story like all above ground, so there wasn't a
Yeah.
basement.
Yeah, probably like 18 feet high.
Pretty, yeah. It was very high,
It's a lot
and
of fucking water.
at that point, there's like tree limbs coming in the windows. There's glass. Her furniture is floating around, and she
It's
is
like a
holding
horror
her.
flick.
And keep
Oh,
in
yeah.
mind, this water is rushing in. So it is moving.
I mean, it's moving homes.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, I know.
entire homes are moving. Like, parts of the town are moving through the water.
Yeah.
So she has her phone that she's holding above the water so it doesn't get wet, but there's no signal anymore. And she's holding a pillow in front of her pregnant belly because she's worried that like a couch or a tree will come and hit her and kill the baby. So she ends up not being found for 12 hours. She's in that water, just shaking, freezing cold. Luckily, they were able to come and rescue her, and she was reunited with her daughter and her husband. But yeah, it was terrifying.
So
they
the
lost everything.
backyard she was in was the house that that had flooded and then it didn't move and now it's unflooded and they're living in it?
Yes.
No, they're not living in it
No.
though, because they've had to tear everything out and spray for mold.
Yep.
So
They're staying
now they're
somewhere else.
living in like a really tiny little like Shasta camper.
Got
It's like a
it.
10-foot camper.
In the
the
Right
drop-
next,
yeah,
right next to the house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's so much to do for that, and she hasn't gotten any confirmation or assistance yet from FEMA. She applied for food stamps. They said no because your husband's still working.
And
But-
all of his money's going to rebuild the home.
Right.
Yeah. What about insurance?
So they're not technically in a flood zone, so they didn't have flood insurance. So
Yeah, you mentioned that to
insurance
me. You
results
were
in
like,
nothing.
get some flood insurance. It doesn't matter where you're at.
Yeah. Honestly.
There you
So-
go. Get flood insurance. You never know. Even the mountains can flood.
Right. So one thing that we're really hoping to do with this documentary is advocate for this being declared as a national disaster by the government.
It's not a national disaster.
No, it's
No.
not currently classified as a national disaster, even though it's affected people
What
from North
has
Carolina,
to-
Tennessee, Florida, Georgia,
What has
and
to
South
make it a
Carolina.
national disaster?
You know, I'm not exactly 100% sure, but I believe it's probably just a certain amount of damage and deaths. I would say, which I think this definitely falls under that category as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I guess it matters how big the area is, how many people are there.
A
That's
lot
it.
of people were affected, man.
Yeah.
The death toll continues to rise on a daily basis. So
Yeah, okay, so a national disaster is a non-routine event that is beyond the capacity of the affected area to manage, and which the President of the United States, at the time Joe Biden, determines if it requires federal assistance.
Okay, so it's can the people do it themselves or not? Like local authorities and stuff.
and
Yeah.
yes, and
Listen, yeah, I want to get into that more, but I'm just trying to define stuff.
absolutely.
So tell me another story, because like, listen, the government stuff, all that stuff, it all matters, and we're one to be advocates for good policy. But the people is what matter to us.
Yeah,
And,
100%.
and I'm
Amen.
all of it matters, but that's the forefront. So tell me someone else.
Yeah.
And what was the names?
just
Give me
to-
the names. Oh, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
No names, but listen, there's a family of 3.
Yes, family.
Yeah.
of three.
Family of 3
With a
rebuilding
baby
their
on the
house,
way.
no insurance. Little entrepreneur, we may be assisting.
And
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. And
This is one of the families we may be assisting.
yes.
Yeah. And just to finish off the story, we did a needs assessment before we left, because our aim is
A
to go back
needs assessment.
and be able to help those people. So just asking what they need. And they lost all their clothes, all their shoes. And Mitch noticed that this little 9-year-old girl is running around in her mom's sliders, 5, 6 sizes too
Some,
big.
like Nike
Oh,
sliders or
her
something.
her feet are
That's what
covered
they do in Haiti.
in wet mud.
Yeah.
And so, we left and we were going about our day, going to this local church, and Mitch just couldn't stop thinking about this little girl. And so we ended up using some of the money we raised to go to Goodwill and find this girl a good winter coat, shoes that are her size. Luckily, we asked her mom what her shoe sizes and clothing sizes were, and we were able to go back and give them diapers and clothes and things to stay warm as it gets colder. So that was a really special moment in a way that we used the funds that we raised to help those people.
Very cool. Very cool. Who else you meet?
Well, we met a lot of people, and that family was one of many who had lost everything to this storm. But we also met some very cool volunteers and people who were just trying to help out.
Kind of like you guys just went out there?
Yeah.
Or part of organizations?
No,
Churches, part of churches.
Yes,
A lot of churches.
Mhm.
and
Like Catholic, Protestant?
Doesn't matter.
mostly
And
Baptist.
yeah.
Protestant.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, mostly Protestant churches out there.
Yeah.
Like lots
if you
of
don't,
Baptist churches.
I gotta say this. If you out there don't know the difference between Roman Catholicism, which most people call Catholic, and Protestant, you should really do your research. Go ahead.
Absolutely, there's a big difference.
There's a difference.
But
the gap is up to you. to decide.
Yes. Well, one gentleman who we ran across, he was with an organization called the Cajun Army. He went by the name of Mitch.
Yeah.
His middle
Muscle
name.
Mitch,
No.
skinny
not-
Mitch, fat Mitch,
just good old Mitch.
good old Mitch.
And that was his middle name, actually. And he was a man of Christ. That is for sure. And he told us the story that, he's from Louisiana and he's from the bayou and he lives off the land. And he told us that he actually couldn't even read. And
At this time, he does not know how to read.
he knows how to read now, but he basically prayed to God that he would be able to read the Bible. And one day he was just able to read the Bible
Wow, it's pretty cool.
and understand it completely.
There he is.
And that's Mitch right there. The Cajun Navy, I'm sorry.
That's good old Mitch.
That's good old boy Mitch.
Oh,
yes.
good old Mitch. Look at what the hell's behind him.
That's
Devastation.
That's
devastation.
just what
So was
used to
that a
be.
fucking neighborhood?
Yes.
That was
Yes.
a neighborhood.
Yes.
There's no houses there. Did it get cleared by people?
They
cleared.
volunteers came in and went through, and they had like excavators and dozers, and they kind of had to clear up these patches of land that are just filled with trash.
Wow.
I think that house behind him is the one house in the entire little subdivision that actually had flood insurance, even though they were in a flood zone.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But, the fact that this man, he said he couldn't read at all. And
His whole life?
His whole life. He could not
Wow.
read. And then one day he just prayed to God that he could read God's word. And he was blessed with the ability to read God's word and recite scripture from his heart.
Wow.
That's pretty incredible and pretty profound, I would say. So, and I'd like to highlight that most of people that have been helping down there, they are of Christian faith. And
People who weren't of Christian faith became Christians.
yes.
That seems like that's how it goes in situations like this.
Yes.
When I came home and I talked with my dad about it, because he's seen a lot of death too. Being a police officer, you just see that on a daily basis pretty much.
Yeah.
And he said things like this either make you believe that God is real or he isn't.
Yeah.
And he's like, usually people start to believe in God and he goes, and probably because all of their contacts and the volunteers were in the local church.
Yep.
Like 90% of them were probably based in churches.
Well, and a lot
Well,
of
yeah, that naturally the people that don't believe in God may not jump in there.
right. Well, and a lot of people who don't
'Cause
believe in God,
God is hope.
they see it as, how could a God let something this disastrous happen? How could he do this to our
Probably
people,
the biggest
right?
argument against God. That there is.
But if you really look at it and you try to see light in this situation, think about how many people he is bringing to his kingdom, right?
Yeah.
Through
I wouldn't say anybody that doesn't believe in a God or that's atheist or even agnostic would not do something. So it wasn't only Christians there, right? You saw.
Oh, no, there's a guy that came up from Georgia.
Yes.
And we can't go into names or anything or details, but yeah, he was there since the beginning.
Was there any ex-military there?
Oh,
Yeah, that guy
A
was
lot.
ex-military.
tons of ex-military, and
Tons of ex-military, because I know a group from Texas that's somewhere in North Carolina.
yes, and this gentleman he speaks of, he was ex-military. He was involved with a special forces group, and he came up from Georgia to help because he was looking for purpose. He needed a purpose in life, as many ex-military.
He's an atheist.
Yes, he was when we first met him, and he was definitely very skeptical of our group when we rolled up to this church that he was staying in a church parking lot, And he said he just Googled churches in areas that were the most impacted by this storm.
The churches or the people?
Well, just towns. But
Towns
he
that
figured
were-
he figured it's easier to go to a church because most of those places
Are going to be doing something.
Yes.
He knew because, yeah, that's pretty cool. So
I think God, without him even realizing or knowing, was working in his heart from the beginning. And us running into him was God kind of knocking on his door, hey, like, I'm here. Just recognize this. And, I think this is another important leadership lesson you can pull from this is, we met this gentleman who was seeking purpose. He just wanted to help. He was just dying to help people. And we met this other woman in Asheville who had some property outside of Swannanoa, and she was a cancer survivor. She lived alone on this farm, and her house wasn't devastated per se, but it was affected by the storm.
I mean, her whole house had to be gutted. You could
Yes.
smell the mold in there.
Yes. And, her livestock fences were mangled up by the trees that had fallen. And, that's a lot of work for a single woman, especially a cancer survivor who is currently battling. That's a lot of work for someone to do. And it's very overwhelming. So she was really needing to, she just needed help. She needed somebody to help. And we recognized that we had somebody that needed immense help and somebody that just needed purpose and was really wanting to help others. And we actually brought them together and connected them before we left. That way.
you told me a little bit about this story, and so there was a woman who had a lot of land who was there by herself who needed help.
Yep.
Then you have this veteran who is an atheist and he's seeking purpose, and then you met both of them through your trip and then
Correct.
hooked them up, and now what's going on with them?
So instead of camping at the church where he felt like he
Church
was just
parking
doing,
lot?
right?
In a
he was
tent?
just-
Yes.
yes.
He didn't have a car?
Well,
He had
no,
a truck
he had a
and a
truck.
tent.
He brought trailers and
Yeah.
a truck and a bunch of equipment or like tools down to be able to help effectively.
And he was just searching for things to do and didn't necessarily like the place he was staying because it's like right under an overpass. It's super loud. There's always a bunch of people, and he felt like he wasn't being effective and like really able to help in that position. And then now he is camping on this woman's farm, and it's just really tranquil and beautiful out there. And
Helping
there's
them
so
rebuild the
much
community.
he needs help with. There's so much, and he now is like, oh my gosh, now I'm able to help. And one of our teammates was talking to him on the phone afterward, and he goes, oh, so it seems like, God really is working in your life and lined up these things for you. Keep in mind, he's saying this to an atheist. And the guy's response was, well, you know what? I really just can't argue with you there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that man, it's like what we talked about on a previous podcast about it's not God that deters people from God, from himself. It's the interactions with people. And so now look at this positive interaction. So would you say this impromptu trip as your honeymoon do you find like, obviously it was very productive, whatever, and I know you have more stories and I can't wait to hear about them.
Oh yeah.
But do you feel like it's something that us as an organization, Project 418, and you can speak for your company, Elijah, is this something that we can build off of in regards to helping humans?
I truly think so. I mean, I believe that God put this on our hearts for a reason, and
because sometimes one-offs are okay.
Well, what I can say is that interviewing the people who are still helping at this air base, and I mean, here's a video right here. We flew up with this guy. This guy flew in from New York
Guys were in
with
an
a
airplane?
helicopter.
we were in a helicopter.
Yeah. This dude flew in from New York with this helicopter. He said he went to
that
his,
day.
No, like that week. And he
Okay.
goes, he asked his boss, he goes, "Can I have this helicopter?" He's like, "Yeah, sure. Take it. I don't care." But
I want a helicopter
When-
so bad.
when winter hits, more people are going to die. That is what the people at this air base were telling us. And they're like, we need to keep doing something because it's not over yet.
And what is it? Food, energy, and
Also,
money?
when more precipitation happens, these lands are unstable now because of all the flooding. Like the roots aren't in the ground, so there's going to be more floods. Once they get more precipitation,
and
there's going to be
snow,
more floods.
precipitation.
Yeah, more mudslides, all of that. I mean, look, I want to watch some of this
Okay, let's watch.
devastation
Yeah, let's
here.
do it.
Like, I mean, this was just a car.
You took this video,
I did.
This is all on phones. So this is
Yeah.
what we're on Mitch and Victoria's
but
phones.
Elijah, you took a ton of video that you'll be releasing later.
Yes, by Thanksgiving we should have a first draft. The full thing will be uploaded by
Okay.
by
And that project
Christmas.
is going to go on YouTube.
And we're working on getting on Amazon Prime too.
Okay.
So-
Amazon Prime.
Yeah. So you can just see that car was just completely flooded out. There was just a story that was released that they found a mom and 4 kids in a van
Where?
in North Carolina.
Where? In here?
No. I saw
Just-
a news post this morning.
Yeah, I mean, one of the people we interviewed said that they drove past a van that was like buried, and they didn't know that it was a mom and her children in it, and
Yeah.
then they just found them one day, and they're like, oh,
Buried in
I've-
what?
Mud.
Yeah, they probably smelled them.
Yeah, they smelled them and were like, oh, there's people that died in there, and we didn't know about it. And
It was a mom and 4 kids?
It was a mom and kids, yeah.
Okay, mom and kids.
And then, I mean, this is a bridge.
Can you put that on our, like, a link for
Yes,
something on,
yeah, yep.
guys, we're going to have links on all our podcasts with, we always encourage you to do your own research, but this is like our sources and where we learn from.
Yeah,
Wow.
so this was in a town called Burnsville. They were not
That
able-
wasn't a river, it was a road before.
So this is a bridge.
Okay.
This used to be a smaller river. And so if you look at this right here, you can kind of see the water was up to here. Like the flood was up to there. It covered everything. in
How
this
tall
valley.
is that? 12 feet?
He said it.
Eight
They
feet?
said it varied anywhere from 18 to 50 feet.
The
in
water was 50 feet. What the fuck? Did it
It-
come from the earth?
It hit it. So they
Did
had,
it come from inside the
A
earth?
lot of dams broke.
Oh, dams
Yeah.
broke.
Yep.
Oh.
So lakes like emptied on top
Yes.
of others.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean that's another photo. Here, hold on. I'm gonna pull up this video. You guys keep talking, but I've got a video that was sent. to me.
So this looks like the UP, Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Yeah,
And I've seen other pictures from you guys. This looks like the Upper Peninsula.
it's
so
beautiful.
is it like the people are spread out like in the Upper Peninsula?
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
talking about like Marquette, like the cities or
Yes.
Yeah. and s-
Escanaba. I'm talking. Well, maybe Escanaba. It's not that big.
Yes, I mean there's definitely, there's towns.
We had to
and then
fly
there's
with
and then
a
there's a lot
helicopter
of
to
rural.
this.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
rural
yeah.
areas.
This reminds me of up North Michigan.
And we actually
With bigger
flew.
mountains.
We actually flew into a campground that was hit without notice, and that's where we landed and started exploring. And it was like we were in an apocalypse.
It didn't feel real. Like you were looking at it.
I honestly, I watched this shit, and even when they just showed that apartment complex, there was part of me saying, "Oh, it's not bad," but then you got to look at it in its context, right? Everything, and it is like it's like a movie, and like the stuff you guys have sent me, I'm like, this kind of looks like a.
It feels fake. It's like the first time.
Exactly.
It's the first time you see like a giant mountain somewhere in like
Yep.
another country, and you're like, it's right there, but you're like, it doesn't really look real.
yeah, I've seen
until
this
you
in
start,
pictures.
until you start walking on it, and you're like, oh, this is real.
Yeah.
I
And you
felt
could
that exact
smell,
way.
like-
the dead bodies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because they have a death count of how many people have been, brought in and tagged. But what about that campground where 160 people were, which got completely washed away? They don't know where those people are. You see these piles of trees and mangled refrigerators. Like, how do you find a body in that,
This is an example of what it looked like up in the mountains at the top. starting to crash down. So that was what
Jeez.
started piling up, and it would take trees with it and cars and homes, and it would basically hit a bridge. Everything would collect on the bridge, and then once the bridge finally broke, it would push down and start hitting
I don't think
everything
that's a
else.
waterfall, is it?
No, that's stairs.
That's why I'm saying that's not like a fountain, is it?
Oh
No.
no.
That's where there were stairs for like a viewpoint or something,
Yes.
right? Yeah, there we go. That looks
Yeah.
like Upper Michigan. Or like, Virginia, North Carolina.
It was
Yeah, so that's
A
all the
beautiful
way up at the
area.
top of a mountain.
but
But the
devastating.
So you gotta
water
think
is
about
coming
it.
down now.
I mean, this stretched over hundreds of miles, like that amount of water. They said it hit them instantly at 3 a.m.
they should
like
take that water to California.
I wish God worked like that.
That'd be a lot better than what happened to these people. But yeah, dude.
It's a lot of fucking water.
I
Well,
think we saw a stat that it was like the Texas stadium. It was that whole thing full of water 51,000 times is how much water fell on North Carolina.
wow. Well, hey, congratulations on your wedding
Thank you.
and your marriage. You guys are going to do great. And thanks for leading this project on behalf of, our company, 418, yourselves, and Jesus. And, I look forward, Elijah, proud of you, man. And I look forward to see what's going to happen in the future and see where we can help and, shine light, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I like to sum up that trip with it was painful and beautiful at the same time, and we say that a lot with entrepreneurship, but
Yeah.
there was a lot of beautiful parts of it, but it was also very emotional and painful.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys. You're strong. And from all of us from the Warriors Mindset Podcast and Warriors Management, let's make a difference, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll see you next time.